Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to an evening with Joel.
And Matt,
This is Entertainment Banter, and we are going to bring you a new topic today, like we always do each week. Something new, something exciting, something fun.
it's exciting and fun.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
What is it?
We're probably going to hate it. I want to talk. I want to talk about Spider-Man, but I want to talk about what Sony is doing with Spider-Man. So I want to talk about their Marvel universe that is still unsure if it's part of the MCU, which is Disney doing, or what the fuck are they doing?
So you're talking about future projects with Sony and Marvel.
Their new universe. So
okay.
What they did with Venom.
Yes.
And what they're going to do with Morbius. And what they're going to do with Wes Craven, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And probably someone else, maybe the Chameleon or something. Who knows? But
they teased Vulture.
But Vulture may get his own movie, I suppose, maybe. But that's where it's confusing. So Spider-Man has this neat gimmick where they can do Spider-Verse into the Spider-Verse. And if you have been under a rock and not have seen Sony's Into the Spider-Verse, it was really well done and really well received. And we'll wait. Go watch it.
Yeah. So what prompted this conversation? Is it the fact that we noticed that Sony movies for Spider-Man, they own the genre, right? They don't. It's not just Spider-Man, but the genre of Spider-Man.
They own the Spider-Man universe. They don't own it. They just have the rights to it. Yeah,
right.
The cinematic rights.
But one thing that you and I started to notice is that they're not focusing on Spider-Man so much as they are the villains.
Now
Each villain is getting a movie.
Well, I feel like they know they lost. They didn't lose the character Spider-Man. They just pretty much let the reins loose on him and said, Disney, do what you want with him, but we're going to still create his universe behind him, sort of.
Does that make you nervous if Sony establishes all of their villains?
See, no, but...
Because now the MCU has to honor whatever villains they create.
They don't have to honor it. That's the thing. Sony has not officially said they're part of the MCU, and Disney has not made any comments on it. Venom is still up in the air, and it's just bothering me because Tom Hardy and that whole Venom movie was not a bad movie, but since they called it Venom, they needed to have Spider-Man in it. If they had Spider-Man in it, and it had that drama of why Venom is who he is and why Eddie Brock is who he is, it would have been a 10 times better movie, not just...
But they didn't touch on any of that,
They didn't touch on any of that. So it's like, how are you going to use that for that? They have not announced if Venom is connected to the new Morbius movie, but now Morbius is about, technically, like, Marvel's version of Dracula, but he's not Dracula, he's not undead.
Right.
He's alive. He just took Batman. He took bat DNA to help cure his disease, and it slowly transformed into this creature that needs to drink human blood to stay alive. I'm not even sure if it's human blood, just blood in general. So, but then in the trailer you watch, what's his name? Birdman, Vulture. What's his name?
Oh, Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. You see him show up in the trailer, and he's supposed to be a vulture. Yep. So then you start thinking, is Morbius set in the universe with the MCU? Is this a set to start making the Sinister Six? Is this...
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what it made it seem like. I mean, he was in Far From Home, right? Not Far From Home, I'm sorry, Homecoming.
Homecoming, yeah.
Yeah, he was in Homecoming, so... when they do stuff like that, I feel like they're playing ball. They feel like they're playing ball with the cinematic universe. But
absolutely, because you got to be an idiot if you don't realize that Disney's making you money. They were acting like fools when they're trying to take Spider-Man back, and that whole
Disney learned. Again, we talked about Star Wars a bazillion times, but they knew if they lost Spider-Man, they'd be up shit creek.
Absolutely, but the thing is, Sony thinks they could have made another Spider-Man movie without Marvel. Yeah, they could have made more Spider-Verses, which they are.
So.
They're making a second Spider-Verse, absolutely.
The
live action is not going to survive as well because it would still sell because of Spider-Man, but it wouldn't do as well as the Far From Home did. Well, it was their highest grossing movie to date.
It's kind of unfortunate because I feel like we're right back in that same rut where Sony has a brand, a property, and they're just gonna kind of running into the ground, kind of like Fox did with the X-Men, because they're just picking random villains to do. One thing I wanted to ask you,
Morbius, really? Not Doc
well,
Ock, not fucking.
that's what I wanted to ask you, because do you think I feel like this next wave of 10 years is going to be, SJW meets horror films for Marvel? Would you say that's an accurate portrayal of what they're trying to shoot for? Like they're basically trying to do horror movies under the umbrella of superheroes.
No.
That's why you got Venom. That's why you got Morbius.
Well, Sony maybe is doing that. The only Marvel MCU one that we know of for sure is Doctor Strange's, and it's supposed to be like a thriller, not a horror. Well, because Doctor Strange is, it's strange. Right. It's kind of. I don't even know what Doctor Strange is like. When I never read the Doctor Strange comic, so I really wanted to see the movie because I'm like, oh, that's kind of where he came from. I get it. Like I knew small things, but not like I knew about Dormammu and all that shit. But
yeah, no, I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, so with the Morbius movie coming out, the thing is it going to be connected to the MCU? Is Michael Keaton really being the Vulture in it? Is Sony really going to do this? There's also a lot, or is Disney going to allow it? Because they kind of don't have control over what Sony's doing with that.
Well, they must. They must
be talking. You know what I mean?
I guarantee you they're talking.
There are definitely emails and communications. Involved. Yeah, absolutely. And there's no word that Peter Parker will be in it or Tom Holland. He probably should be, but because all these characters are being based, like they all have issues with Spider-Man. That's what makes him. And it almost seems like Venom was turned into like a what do you call him? Not an anti-hero. Is it an anti-hero?
Yeah, it's anti-hero.
He's still a hero, but he's still like a villain.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what they're making Morbius out to be too, like another anti-hero. And it's like, okay, you're making these anti-heroes. How you can make that twist into, well, these are main villains to Peter Parker?
Yeah, I mean,
I know eventually Venom works alongside Spider-Man, and he hates Spider-Man, but Venom becomes part of one of the Avengers at one point. So
yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's weird that they're selecting these what I would consider horror-esque type villains to focus on first. I mean, it's just unfortunate that again I just thought of something. What if Disney's playing a little hardball with Sony and saying, we'll keep this deal going if you let us have Vulture, if you let us have, I don't know, Rhino, Doc Ock, Shocker, because they want to do the Sinister Six. You know what I'm saying? They want, maybe they're saving those characters for the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Tom Holland, and they're saying you can touch any other character, do random spin-off movies you want, and maybe that's why we're getting all these obscure random movies.
Well, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they've already introduced Scorpion. They've introduced Vulture. Yep. They've introduced Shocker. So we're at three.
Not Sinestro, but that's DC.
Oh, Mysterio.
Mysterio.
So we have four right now. Yeah. They're talking. Wes Craven's one of the original Sinister Six, and Doc Ock would be the main person. So we're going to see
or Kingpin.
Absolutely.
And if they bring the Netflix over, that would be pretty impressive, actually.
Well, they are losing opportunities because they could have had Spider-Man join at some point in the Netflix series and ruin on Kingpin's day kind of thing quicker than Daredevil did, and that could have spawned like his hatred towards Spider-Man, and him wanting to do that. But Kingpin could get really messy. That whole storyline is very messy. I know the '90s cartoon did it very well, but Daredevil was not really involved.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see the Kingpin be Daredevil's number one nemesis, though, only because right now, Spider-Man's got so many villains to choose from. Daredevil doesn't have as many.
And they're good villains, too. Like, are we going to see Hobgoblin? Are we going to see the Green Goblin again? Yeah. I think they're already bringing back J.J. Johnson as AK, what's his name, Simmons? Oh, God.
Yes. Yep. They're bringing him back.
Jay Simmons or whatever his name is.
Yep.
I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he's an awesome J. Jonah Jameson. Are they going to bring back William Dafoe? Because he was an awesome Green Goblin. Like, I think it's great.
You got to have age as a factor, too, though. You got to be careful. William Dafoe now would actually be a better Vulture, in my opinion.
Oh man, I just like William Dafoe. His facial expression. He just looks like his transformation to the Goblin would have been great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but there's also I was reading things online about theories of what the Morbius could be. It could actually be sitting in, even though the Vulture is Michael Keaton, he could look the same in multiple universes, right? So some people are predicting that this could be the Sam Raimi's universe. You know what I mean? Like his mate with Tobey Maguire and his Spider-Man. Like that's not thrown out yet. Tobey Maguire could totally come back and revise his role as Spider-Man. I don't want him to. I think it's garbage. And so can Andrew Garfield at any point because those could be different universes that.
Well, he burned his bridges with Sony, so I don't think
Andrew Garfield. Get him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, Tobey Maguire probably would come back. He's getting old, but he could definitely be an older Spider-Man. They could touch on and
you know that would be fun to watch because I've always liked Peter Parker when he was a college professor. I thought
that's what it could be.
Some of the best books.
Absolutely.
You know?
That could totally be what it is. That could be. I mean, because they have so many options they can do. I mean, those movies can become part of the universe. They weren't. The first two were not bad movies. The first two were great movies. The third one, they can just say someone got drunk. But
what do you think about the rumors of them replacing MJ in these new Tom Holland films?
Wait, what?
You didn't hear about that?
No, I had not.
There's rumor that they may have a new version of MJ, so to speak.
Why? She was.
I don't know. I don't know.
She's so hot though.
Yeah, she did a good job. So I don't know. I mean, but it's just rumorville, so it's nothing official as of yet.
Of course.
But, one thing is, I know Disney's. They got people working overtime right now because I know that they're not sure what they're doing officially with any of this stuff. I mean, they do, but they don't.
I think it's like unfolding in front of them as they go, just because I think that's what's making it better. Like, I don't think much of the Marvel universe was truly planned, if that makes sense. Like, I hate to bring up Star Wars, but how Star Wars had, how I know they fucked it up, but I know
they didn't plan it at all.
Well, no. That could be the case, but I feel like they had this is what's going to happen, and the Skywalker's going to end, and that's going to be it. But now it's like, we don't know anymore.
Yeah, no, they had no plan. They had no plan.
I feel like
I can tell you with the Marvel universe, I think what happened was, I think you're right. I think the first 10 years, even though they slated it, they had room to maneuver and make decisions.
They knew that Thanos was going to be the end. They just didn't know how they were going to get there.
Exactly. And when they wanted to touch extra stories, like, Ragnarok was one of my favorites because they combined, Planet Hulk and all this other stuff with it a little bit.
It was mainly Planet Hulk, but yeah.
Right.
They don't have the rights. Sure. That's a funny story. Side note, no one, only Universal has the rights to make a Hulk movie that says the Hulk in the title. They don't have the rights to the character anymore, but they have rights to the title. Weird.
That is funny. But anyways, what I was going to say is, I think, maybe 2/3 of the way through this original Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel and Disney were like, oh man, it's popular. So they said, yeah, let's start slating the next 10 years. But then what happened was, people started getting pissed off about the portrayals that, again, I was talking to my wife about it the other day. It's like the women live thing and the SJW thing. Like, there's right ways of doing it and wrong ways of doing it. I'm sure we'll pod about it at some point. But I was telling her, or maybe I was talking to you, my work wife, like the Star Wars Rebels show. It's like
you talked to me about last time.
There's a lot of strong women in that show, and that was a straight up Disney. That was a straight up Disney show. And, Disney owned it 100%. And it was like, there was no problem with that show. I loved all the women in that show. They were strong. They were independent. They were clear thinkers. They were people that you relied on. No problem whatsoever. But then they decided to, go full steam ahead with this over-the-top agenda. And when that started to happen, so if you're doing a Marvel Cinematic Universe and you're 2/3 of the way through and you're like, oh, this is popular, this is working, let's start planning the next 10 years before this finishes so we can start right away. And they're like, hey, you know what else is popular right now? What's that? SJW, women live. Let's push it out. Let's women. And there's nothing wrong with women, but what I'm saying is like they're like, let's start. Yeah, the next 10 movies, all women. Let's do it. She-Hulk. Let's do Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. Let's do Squirrel Girl. Let's do all these characters, all the women. Let's do it. Their day in the sun is coming now, and we'll preface it with a whole bunch of women scenes in the end of the one we're doing now. This end of this first 10 years, and then what happens is, there was such a backlash with Star Wars that Disney, you got to be like pump on those brakes, because that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the next 10 years they're still going to go with that mentality. Like, okay, we can still do these movies, but I think they're starting to rethink about how they're going to do them. And if they double or triple down on them, they're going to lose money like they did with Star Wars. It's just going to happen. But
we're going to see. I mean, we'll
especially if they're all horror types too, like you're not going to
take your kids to go see Morbius. Types.
No, I'm saying for Sony, because you're talking about the Sony and Spider-Man universe.
Well, they're anti-heroes. They're anti-heroes, right, so they're going to be kind of scary movies, kind of thing. You know what I mean? They're not meant to be. I mean, it just. What is Sony doing?
Well, it's hard because if you're looking at it from a marketing standpoint, like you were talking about the Ryan Reynolds bandwagon in one of our podcasts, which I understood. I understood what you meant. This is the Deadpool and the Wolverine bandwagon, old Logan type, where like, oh, you mean if superheroes have lots of blood, gut, and gore, and chopping heads off, and lots of swearing and stuff, all of a sudden an R-rated movie is going to make shit tons of money? Well, let's do that for Venom. Let's do that for Morbius. And
it has done right, and the only reason it works that way because that our generation that grew up with it are going to go see it. That's the thing.
Right. You're going to have a whole bunch of 35, 40, 50-year-old men going to see these movies, which is fine. But if you're trying to start a new foundation and get a younger crowd, a younger audience, and I'm not talking like 18-year-olds that can finally, go buy cigarettes. I'm talking like, kids, because at the end of the day, if you start kids out young, like anything else, they would support your brand forever. But you can't take, a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old to go see Morbius, or you could, but I'm just saying, like, it's not marketed for them, so it's going to be a lot harder for them to get involved and like these things, But they do, they'll watch it at home, I'm sure, when their parents buy it, but it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like missing the mark a little bit if they do all of them like that.
Yeah, I suppose. Well,
I mean, look at it this way: are you like, yes, Morbius? I mean, even as an adult,
that's not even a crazy character. Like, I don't give a shit about Morbius.
Right,
it's just
that's
like
my
another
point.
But are they going to do what? I mean, I'm going to go see it because I'm curious. Because I had to go see Venom, and Venom was, again, since there's lacking the element of Spider-Man, it didn't make sense why Venom was the way he was and why. Brock was the way he was. Like, it
that's
like,
what I'm. Yeah.
I mean, he had the right personality, so you saw the failures coming. But where's the hatred that he's going to hate Spider-Man? Like, he's in San Francisco, where he would have been after he dealt with all the Spider-Man issue. He left New York to go to San Francisco to be away from Spider-Man, and he wanted to be his own hero. I'm putting air quotes up. Yeah. To be in San Francisco, and that's where he resides, and then he becomes his anti-hero there. So they set that up. But there's no Spider-Man anywhere.
It's really messed up, but I own the film, and I have yet to watch it. My life has been so busy. Yeah. Did Brock mention anything about Peter Parker?
No. There's no mention of that at all. There's no Bay Daily Bugle. There's none of that.
Did they hint at the symbiote being there before Brock gets into it? Or
no. Okay. They actually explained where they come from. They almost used the same way that the 90s cartoon did. It was in a spaceship. But the thing is, near the end, too, at the end, they have an end credit scene that teases for Carnage.
Okay, but here's my point. You said there's no mention of Spider-Man. There's no mention of the symbiote with Spider-Man. And no Brock mentioning Peter Parker. No. So
Plus, their age gap is so big.
Oh, well. I was going to say there is a possibility that, well, that depends. If they do it under the Tobey Maguire thing, like you said, then it could work. But I'm thinking like
they'd have to totally toss out the third movie.
True that. That's a good point. Well, actually, not necessarily, because what I was going to say is if there's no mention of that stuff, they could imply that stuff happened previously. Unless Eddie Brock was. You're right. Never mind.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Good
You're
job.
right.
Thanks for catching up.
It's been a while. Well, I blocked the third one out sometimes in my head.
A lot of us do. If you watch the movie Venom, you'll notice that there is no white spider on his chest like he does to mock Spider-Man.
Okay.
It's not there. There's nothing there. He's just black with veins and bulging muscle.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think it's just an unfortunate turn of events. It's funny because, like, then Disney was able to keep the property for their stuff, but then also it sounds like Sony still has the opportunity to screw things up. So I don't know. I'm not looking forward to many of the Sony films. I'll look at the animated ones, but I won't focus much on the villains, especially if they keep picking these obscure villains. Kraven's another one I don't really care about.
I mean, why isn't Doc Ock or Goblin? But the thing is, I feel like those have. I mean, you thought Venom needed it too, but apparently not. So we'll see. Morbius is a character that you may not need Spider-Man, but in the end, you're going to need Spider-Man.
I'm surprised that they don't have Carnage under. Like I said, I would save like the best villains for the official MCU. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not going to go rush to theaters to see Morbius. Sorry, I'm not a vampire lover to begin with, and I'm definitely not. His character is one of the lamest characters I thought in the universe.
Absolutely.
It was written for vampire lovers, so that's even in the comics. So it's
still is.
Yeah. So yeah, no.
I'm not going to rush to it either, but I'm living hotel to hotel. I might as well go check it out.
Right. Well, do you have any final thoughts?
I'm just hoping that whatever Sony is doing, they're actually talking to Kevin Feige or someone on that side of Disney and telling them this is what we want to do, this is how we want to do it. Because I know Feige probably thinking like, well, we're never going to use those characters. We never thought about using those characters in the universe because Spider-Man has a lot of villains. They may have the most villains comparatively to the other comics, right?
He has a lot.
He does, because they're all like secondhand crooks who turned into supervillains somehow, and that's why the Sinister Six was created. So that could be a reason. Like you did mention that Doc Ock and Green Goblin haven't been announced. I mean, if I was Sony, I'd be like, oh, I'd capitalize on that. But that could be a thought that they want to use in Spider-Man. But I've so far, I have enjoyed how they've been introduced in the MCU. How the Shocker was there, how the Vulture was the main guy, how the Scorpion was there. Like, I like how they're introduced because they're small origin stories. They're slowly creating, their wheels are turning on who they are. And I like that. They're not just like these 2-bit criminals.
Yep.
They're actually creating this life. Like, it's a universe. So it's actually
the Marvel Disney side are doing a good job introducing.
Great.
My final thought is I think that Sony once again is back to old habits. They're just gonna pump out stupid movies, and people are gonna buy them in the hopes that they connect well to the cinematic universe, and they're not going to. If I see a Spider-Man villain movie trailer pop up, whether it's Venom or Morbius or whatever, and I don't see Spider-Man in it, I can tell you right now that's gonna get old quick. People are not gonna be interested in seeing villains movies.
Well, with that being said, 2 things came to mind. One, the reason why Sony is doing this is because, we're not making Spider-Man movies quick enough, so we're going to create the villains so we can keep the rights in our pocket so we can still collect money from it. And 2, hopefully Amazon or Apple finally buys Sony and all the rights revert back to Disney and we don't have to deal with this shit anymore.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Well, that's it. All done?
All done. All right.
Well, thank you for listening to Entertainment Banter. My name is Matt.
And I'm the Joel. And I'm done.